Chapter 1. The Immortal's Mercy. The Tea Girl of Black Bamboo Village. The morning mist clung to the peaks of Black Bamboo Mountain like silk veils, drifting lazily over the thatched roofs of the village below. Li Mei wiped sweat from her brow as she stacked firewood beside her small tea shack, her muscles burning from the labor. The villagers called her Wild Plum, for her stubbornness and for the way she thrived where others would wither. Mei. More tea for the merchants. Old Man Luo called from the roadside stall. She sighed, hefting the iron kettle. Coming. As she poured steaming osmanthus tea, her gaze drifted to the mountain pass. Rumors had spread like wildfire, whispers of immortal cultivators battling in the high peaks, their swords cutting through boulders as if they were paper. Nonsense, she muttered. Immortals didn't waste time on mortal villages like hers. Then the earth shook. A deafening roar split the air. Villagers screamed as the forest exploded, trees snapping like twigs. A monstrous four-clawed demon bear burst into the clearing, its fur matted with blood, eyes burning with rage. Li Mei froze. Behind the beast, a figure in silver and blue robes descended from the treetops, his sword gleaming like captured moonlight. An immortal. The swordsman and the axe. The immortal landed lightly between Li Mei and the beast, his blade flashing in a deadly arc. Run, fool, he snapped. Li Mei didn't run. She snatched up her wood-cutting axe and hurled it with all her strength. The blade buried itself in the demon bear's eye. The creature shrieked, giving the immortal the opening he needed. His sword pierced its heart in one fluid motion. The beast collapsed, shaking the ground. The immortal flicked black blood from his blade and turned to her, his eyes sharp as daggers. You've got a death wish. Li Mei squared her shoulders. And you missed its vitals twice. A beat of silence. Then, the ghost of a smirk touched his lips. You're bleeding, she said bluntly, pointing to the gash on his side. He glanced down as if surprised. Before he could protest, she yanked him down onto a wooden stool and pressed a poultice of crushed yarrow and spider lily to the wound. Don't be a hero. Sit. The immortal, Wei Yang as she would later learn, stared at her like she'd grown a second head. No one ordered him around, least of all a mortal girl with calloused hands and a sharp tongue. Yet he sat. The jade token. You're not from the nearby sects, Li Mei observed as she bandaged his wound. His robes were too fine, his sword too elegant, nothing like the rugged mercenaries who sometimes pass through. Wei Yang studied her. And you're not afraid of much, are you? She snorted. Should I be? A flicker of something, amusement, respect, passed through his eyes. When she finished, he stood abruptly and reached into his sleeve. He tossed her a small jade token, its surface carved with a coiled dragon. For your courage, he said. Burn it if you're ever desperate. Then before she could reply, he leapt onto the wind, his figure vanishing into the mist. Li Mei clutched the token, her heart pounding. The shadow at dusk. That night, as Li Mei banked the fire in her tea shack, the air grew unnaturally cold. A whisper of movement, shadows detached from the walls, forming into gaunt figures with empty eyes. Girl, one hissed. The jade token. Hand it over. Her fingers tightened around the carving. No. The lead shadow smiled, revealing needle-thin teeth. Then you'll burn. With a flick of its wrist, black flames erupted, engulfing the shack. Li Mei stumbled back, coughing, but she refused to drop the token. As the dagger swung toward her throat, she pressed the jade to her lips and whispered. Wei Yang. For a heartbeat, nothing. The token exploded with light. A blade of pure azure chi sliced through the shadows, and Wei Yang stood before her once more, his eyes blazing with fury. You, he growled at the assassins, dare touch what's mine? Faith. The shadows screeched and dissolved, fleeing into the night. Wei Yang turned to Li Mei, his expression unreadable. You called. She held up the token. You came. Pause. Then reluctantly, Your trouble. Li Mei grinned. And you're stuck with me. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Pack your things. We're leaving. What? They'll return, he said grimly. And next time I might not be here to save you. Li Mei looked at the smoldering ruins of her home, then at the immortal before her. She made her choice. Teach me, she demanded. Wei Yang raised an eyebrow. Teach you what? How to fight. How to be like you. He laughed. A sharp, disbelieving sound. You're mortal. She met his gaze, unflinching. Not for long. And so, beneath the watchful eyes of the mountain spirits, the tale of the tea girl and the immortal began. Chapter 2: The Sex Trial. The Road to Vermilion Phoenix Sect. Li Mei's legs burned as she climbed the 1,000-step staircase, each stone slab carved with fading sigils. The higher they went, the thinner the air became until even breathing felt like swallowing knives. Wei Yang moved ahead of her effortlessly, his boots barely touching the steps. Keep up, he called over his shoulder, not even winded. I'd move faster if you hadn't dragged me up a mountain at dawn, she snapped, wiping sweat from her brow. He smirked. Complaining already? The trial hasn't even started. Trial. The word sent a thrill through her. Last night, after the shadow assassins fled, Wei Yang had told her of the Vermilion Phoenix Sect, a sanctuary for cultivators hidden among the clouds. They might take you in, he'd said, if you survive the test. Li Mei had barely slept, her mind racing with visions of swords that cut through steel, steps that danced on water. Now, as the staircase ended before a gate of crimson wood, her pulse quickened. 2 guards in flame-embroidered robes barred their path. Halt. State your purpose. Wei Yang flicked his sleeve, revealing a black jade medallion, the mark of a rogue cultivator. I've brought a candidate for the entry trial. The guards eyed Li Mei's rough-spun clothes and calloused hands. One snorted. She's mortal. Wei Yang's voice turned dangerous. And yet she stands here. Will your sect honor its own laws, or must I remind you? The guards paled and stepped aside. Li Mei whispered, what was that about? Wei Yang didn't look at her. Never show weakness here. Remember that. The arena of flames. The sect sprawled across the mountaintop. Pavilions of scarlet lacquer, bridges arching over bottomless chasms, disciples practicing sword forms that left trails of fire in the air. At the center stood an arena of black stone, its edges carved with phoenixes. A crowd had gathered, their murmurs sharp with curiosity. Another fool trying to join? Look at her, no spiritual roots at all. A woman in golden crimson robes descended from the elder's platform. Elder Zhu, her face stern, her aura like a banked furnace. You wish to join our sect? Li Mei bowed. I do. Then face the entry trial. Elder Zhu gestured to the arena. Survive the flame pillars for 1 incense stick's time and you may stay. Wei Yang stiffened. That trial is for initiates with foundation-level cultivation. And she is mortal, Elder Zhu countered. Unless you fear for her? Li Mei stepped forward before Wei Yang could protest. I'll do it. The crowd erupted in laughter. The trial begins. The arena's floor split open and 9 stone pillars rose, each etched with runes. Fire burst from their tops, forming a shifting maze of flames. Rules are simple, said Elder Zhu. Touch a pillar and you burn. Fall and you fail. Li Mei swallowed. No room for error. A gong sounded. She leapt onto the first pillar, heat searing her soles. The moment she landed, the pillar sank, forcing her to jump to the next. Fire roared. She twisted midair, barely avoiding a jet of flames. The crowd's laughter died. She's fast, someone muttered. But speed wasn't enough. The pillars moved faster, their patterns unpredictable. Soon her arms trembled, her breath came in gasps. Then disaster. A pillar erupted beneath her too soon. She missed her footing, plunging toward the flames. A hand caught her wrist. Wei Yang, his arm outstretched from the arena's edge, hauled her to safety. The crowd booed. Interference means disqualification, Elder Zhu declared. Wei Yang ignored her, his grip tight on Li Mei's arm. Enough. You don't have to prove. Li Mei shook him off. I'm not done. And before anyone could stop her, she dove back into the inferno. The whispering blade. The flames closed around her. This time, Li Mei didn't rely on strength. She listened. The pillars groaned slightly before they moved. The fire hissed before it surged. Wei Yang had said, "The greatest warriors don't fight the current, they flow with it." She let her body go light, dancing between the flames like a leaf on the wind. The crowd fell silent. Then, a whisper in her mind. Left. Now. She obeyed instinctively, rolling as a pillar slammed where she'd stood. The voice came again, Wei Yang's, but not aloud. You're using your eyes. Use your qi sense. I don't have qi, she wanted to scream. But then, something stirred in her core. Flicker like a spark catching tinder. She reached for it and suddenly, the world sharpened. She could see the qi in the pillars, the pulse of energy before they moved. The final seconds stretched as she weaved through the maze, untouched. The gong rang. She'd done it. The sect's decision. The crowd was silent. Then, slow applause. Elder Zhu's expression was unreadable. You have spirit, girl. But spirit alone does not make a cultivator. Li Mei's heart sank. However, the elder continued, the Vermilion Phoenix has always valued perseverance over privilege. He turned to Wei Yang. She may stay as your personal disciple. Murmurs of shock. Wei Yang's jaw tightened, but he gave a curt nod. As the crowd dispersed, Li Mei exhaled. What does personal disciple mean? Wei Yang pinched the bridge of his nose. It means I'm stuck with you. He grinned. Lucky you. But as they walked toward the disciples' quarters, she noticed the hostile glares from others, especially a beautiful, cold-eyed girl in silver robes. Who's that? Li Mei whispered. Wei Yang didn't look. Lady Lan. The sect heir. And now your rival. Lady Lan's fingers curled around her sword hilt. Li Mei smiled. This just got interesting. Chapter 3. The Disciples' Struggle. The First Lesson. Dawn painted the training grounds in pale gold as Li Mei stood before Wei Yang, her borrowed disciple robes too loose, her hair hastily tied back. Again, Wei Yang commanded, his arms crossed. Li Mei exhaled and repeated the basic sword stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, blade extended, back straight. Wrong. How? She gritted her teeth. I did exactly what you showed me. Wei Yang stepped forward, his fingers brushing her wrist to adjust her grip. A jolt ran through her at the contact. Your qi is stagnant, he said. A sword without spirit is just a piece of metal. I don't have qi. You felt it in the trial. His voice lowered. Find it again. Li Mei closed her eyes, reaching for that fleeting spark from before. Nothing. A snicker cut through the air. Lady Lan leaned against a nearby pillar, her silver robes immaculate. The great Wei Yang, reduced to teaching a mortal how to hold a sword. Her smile was razor-thin. How far the mighty have fallen. Wei Yang didn't glance at her. Lan. Don't you have your own disciples to disappoint? Lan's eyes flashed, but she sauntered off, tossing over her shoulder. Good luck making a cultivator out of firewood. Li Mei's face burned. Wei Yang flicked her forehead. Focus. The midnight training. Days passed and Li Mei failed. Her sword forms were clumsy. Her attempts to channel qi left her dizzy. Even the other novices, children half her age, moved with more grace. One night, frustration boiling over, she sneaked into the training grounds and practiced alone, swinging her blade until her arms trembled. You'll tear your muscles doing that. She whirled. Wei Yang stood in the moonlight, arms crossed. What do you care? She snapped. You clearly regret vouching for me. Pause. Then. You're right. The words stung more than she expected. But not for the reason you think, he continued. This world breaks mortals who reach too high. Li Mei tightened her grip on the sword. Then why let me stay? Wei Yang looked at her, really looked for the first time. Because you remind me of someone. Who? He didn't answer. Instead he unsheathed his own sword. Again. But this time follow my chi. Their blades met and suddenly, he felt it. A current like a river beneath her skin. Wei Yang's energy guided hers, flowing through each strike, each block. For the first time her sword felt alive. The library's secret. The next morning, Li Mei limped into the sect library, a towering pavilion filled with ancient scrolls. If she couldn't master swordplay, maybe knowledge would save her. As she browsed, a forbidden section caught her eye, a door sealed with a blood-red talisman. Don't even think about it. Li Mei turned to find Elder Zhu watching her. What's in there? Techniques too dangerous for disciples. The elder's gaze sharpened. Though I suspect recklessness runs in your veins. Li Mei hesitated, then bowed. Elder, how does a mortal become more? Elder Zhu studied her. There are legends. The Phoenix Rebirth Sutra for one, a ritual to ascend beyond mortal limits. Where can I find it? You can't. The elder's voice turned grave. It requires self-immolation. Many have tried. All have died. Li Mei's pulse raced. But if it worked? Fool girl. Elder Zhu shook her head. Seek patience, not shortcuts. Yet as the elder left, Li Mei's eyes drifted back to the sealed door. The ambush. That afternoon, Li Mei fetched water from the Azure Spring, a secluded pool behind the sect. As she bent to fill her bucket, a force slammed into her back, sending her face first into the water. She gasped, surfacing to see 3 disciples, Lady Lan's lackeys, smirking. The mortal thinks she's one of us, one sneered, kicking her bucket away. Li Mei lunged, but a blast of chi sent her crashing into the rocks. Pain flared along her ribs. Pathetic, the disciples spat. Know your place. A roar of wind. The disciples were hurled aside as Wei Yang descended, his aura a tempest. Touch her again, he said softly, and I'll sever your meridians. The disciples fled. Wei Yang hauled Li Mei up, his grip bruising. Fight back next time. I tried. Not with your hands. He tapped her forehead. With your chi. I don't. You do. His voice was fierce. I felt it last night. Stop denying what you are. Li Mei stared at him, breathless. The spark ignites. That night, Li Mei sat cross-legged in her room, chasing that elusive spark. Memories flashed. Wei Yang's chi guiding hers, the fire pillars, the way her body had known the next move before her mind did. She reached deeper. Pain flared, a white-hot needle driving into her core. She cried out but didn't stop. Then, a burst of heat. Her vision whited out as chi flooded her veins, burning through blockages. When she opened her eyes, the candle by her bed flared violently, then turned azure blue. Her door slammed open. Wei Yang stood there, his face unreadable. You. He stepped closer, eyes locked on the unnatural flame. You've opened your dantian. Li Mei grinned, exhaustion and triumph warring in her chest. Told you I wasn't just firewood. Wei Yang didn't smile. But something in his gaze shifted, respect maybe. Or fear. Outside, unnoticed by either, Lady Lan watched from the shadows, her fists clenched. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Technique and Wei Yang's Secret. The Mark of the Cursed Blade. Li Mei's newfound chi hummed beneath her skin like a second heartbeat, but Wei Yang's training grew colder, his corrections harsher. Again, he snapped as her sword form faltered. I'm trying, she gritted out, sweat dripping from her brow. Try harder. She glared at him. What's your problem? I finally have chi and now you're... Wei Yang's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. His fingers brushed against the pulse point where her chi flowed strongest. A strange expression flickered across his face, longing then guilt. "You don't understand what you're playing with," he said quietly. Before she could retort, his sleeve slipped, revealing a blackened vein crawling up his forearm. Li Mei froze. "What is that?" Wei Yang yanked his arm back, but it was too late. "A reminder," he said darkly, "that some power comes with a price." Then he walked away, leaving her staring after him. The bloodied scroll. That night Li Mei couldn't sleep. Wei Yang's secret gnawed at her. Was he dying? Was that why he resisted teaching her? Determined for answers, she crept to the forbidden section of the library. The blood-red talisman still barred the door, but now, with chi in her veins, she could sense the weakness in the seal. A quick slash of her knife, a drop of blood, and the talisman burned away. Inside, the air smelled of old parchment and something metallic, blood ink. Her fingers closed around a cracked jade scroll, its surface stained brown. The Phoenix Rebirth Sutra. As she unrolled it, a voice hissed in her mind. "To ascend you must first burn." The words twisted before her eyes, forming images. A woman engulfed in blue flames, a sword plunged into her own heart, a rebirth from ashes. Li Mei's hands trembled. This was suicide. Then a footnote in faded script. "For those bound by a soul curse, the flames may be shared." Her breath caught. A soul curse. Like Wei Yang's blackened veins? A floorboard creaked behind her. "I should have known you'd ignore every warning." Li Mei spun. Wei Yang stood in the doorway, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The truth of the demon sword. Wei Yang didn't yell. He didn't even take the scroll. Instead, he sat heavily on a dusty bench and said, "Ask." Li Mei swallowed. "The black veins. Are you cursed?" A humorless laugh. "Not just me." He rolled up his sleeve fully, revealing the full extent of the corruption, veins like ink spreading toward his heart. "My sword is alive," he said. "And hungry." The demon blade Shuejian. Forged in the Hellfire Peaks, it had chosen him as its wielder a century ago, but at a cost. It fed on his soul. "The sutra could save you," Li Mei whispered. "Or kill us both." His gaze locked onto hers. "The shared flames mean a bonded sacrifice. If you linked your life to mine, the sword might claim you too." Li Mei's pulse pounded. "Then why show me how to cultivate? Why bother with me at all?" Wei Yang was silent for a long moment. Then, "Because you're her." "Who?" "The woman in the scroll." His voice was raw. "The last one who tried to save me. The vision of the past." Li Mei recoiled. "That's impossible. I'm mortal. I've never." Wei Yang touched her temple. Fire. Pain. A battlefield drenched in blood. A woman in phoenix feather armor stood back to back with Wei Yang, her sword blazing. "We break the curse today," she vowed. Then the betrayal. The woman plunged her sword into her own chest, channeling her life force into Wei Yang's blade. "Live," she begged as her body turned to ash. The vision shattered. Li Mei gasped, her knees buckling. She remembered. "You loved her," she whispered. Wei Yang's jaw tightened. "And she died for me. Now history repeats itself." He grabbed the scroll. "This ends now." Blue flames erupted from the parchment, consuming it in seconds. Li Mei lunged. "No." But it was already gone. Wei Yang turned away. "Stay away from me, Li Mei. Or the next thing I destroy will be you." Lady Lan's bargain. Li Mei didn't follow him. She sat in the ashes of the scroll, her mind reeling. Was she truly a reincarnation? Had she died for him before? A shadow fell over her. "He always ruins them." Lady Lan stood there, her silver robes glinting. "Every few decades he finds some mortal girl to fixate on. Then he watches her die." Li Mei's fists clenched. "You don't know anything." "Don't I?" Lan smiled coldly. "I was his first disciple. Before the sword." Before the curse. She leaned in. He'll push you away until you either give up, or get yourself killed. Li Mei stood. Why are you telling me this? Lan's gaze dropped to the ashes. Because I know where another copy of the sutra is hidden. A beat. Then, what do you want in return? Lan's smile turned vicious. When you ascend, you'll owe me a favor. Chapter 5. The Trial of Flames. The Hidden Sutra. The Black Lotus Pavilion stood at the edge of the sect grounds, its doors sealed with chains. According to Lady Lan, the second copy of the Phoenix Rebirth Sutra was hidden inside, left behind by a disciple who had burned alive attempting the ritual. Li Mei slipped through the shadows, her heart beat loud in her ears. The moon hung heavy and red, casting long fingers of light through the broken roof tiles. You're sure this is the only way? She had asked Lan earlier. The sect heir had smirked. Unless you'd prefer to watch him wither to dust. Now standing before the pavilion, Li Mei hesitated. Wei Yang's warning echoed in her mind. The next thing I destroy will be you. She took a deep breath and snapped the chains with her chi. The door creaked open. The first ember. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of charred paper and old pain. The walls were scorched black, the remains of a meditation mat reduced to ash. And there, carved into the floor, was the sutra's first trial. To walk the path of phoenixes, one must first embrace the flame. A circle of blue fire flickered to life in the center of the room. Li Mei approached, her skin already prickling with heat. She knew what she had to do. Step into the fire. She glanced at the scroll in her hands. The instructions clear. The flames wouldn't kill her. They would purify her meridians, preparing her body for the final ritual. If I survive this, she whispered, Wei Yang is going to kill me. Then she stepped forward. Agony. Blue fire lanced through her veins, searing every nerve. She bit back a scream as her skin blackened, then healed over and over. Somewhere distantly she heard shouting. Then, strong arms yanking her back. Wei Yang's wrath. You idiot. Wei Yang dragged her across the floor away from the flames. His face was pale with fury, his grip bruising. Do you have any idea what you just did? Li Mei coughed, her throat raw. I survived. Barely. He grabbed her wrists, turning them over. The skin was smooth, unburned but glowing faintly blue. The fire is inside you now. It won't stop until it consumes you. She met his gaze. Then I'll finish the ritual before that happens. Wei Yang's expression shattered. For the first time she saw true fear in his eyes. Why? He whispered. Why would you do this? Li Mei reached up, touching the cursed veins on his arm. Does I remember now? I loved you then. I love you now. And I refuse to lose you again. His breath caught. Then the door burst open. Lady Lan's betrayal. Elder Zhu and a dozen sect disciples flooded the room, swords drawn. At their head stood Lady Lan, her smile triumphant. I told you she'd come here, Lan said sweetly. The mortal girl, dabbling in forbidden arts. Wei Yang stepped in front of Li Mei, his sword unsheathed. This doesn't concern you, Lan. Oh, but it does. Lan's gaze flicked to Li Mei's glowing skin. The sutra's power is not hers to take. Elder Zhu's voice cut through the tension. Li Mei, you have violated sect law. Surrender the scroll and submit to judgment. Li Mei stood, her legs shaking. I can't do that. Lan's smile widened. Then you leave us no choice. The disciples attacked. The phoenix awakens. Wei Yang moved like a storm, his blade a blur as he cut down 3 disciples in one strike. But there were too many. Li Mei tried to summon her chi, but the fire inside her raged out of control. Wei Yang. He turned just as Lan's sword pierced his side. Blood bloomed across his robes. Something in Li Mei snapped. Heat exploded from her chest, blue fire erupting in a shockwave. The disciples were hurled back, their screams swallowed by the inferno. When the flames cleared, Li Mei stood alone in a circle of ash, Wei Yang at her feet. Her skin glowed like embers, her hair floating as if underwater. Lan, barely standing, gasped. Impossible. She's ascending. Li Mei raised a hand, and the fire obeyed. Leave, she said, her voice echoing with power. Or burn. The disciples fled. Only Wei Yang remained, his hand pressed to his wound. Li Mei. She knelt beside him, the flames retreating at her touch. I told you, she whispered. I'm not losing you again. Then the world went black. Chapter 6. The Fallout. The Sect's Judgment. Dawn bled crimson over the Vermilion Phoenix sect as the council's bell tolled. A sound reserved for traitors and heretics. Li Mei awoke in a cell, her wrists bound in chi-suppressing cuffs, her body still humming with residual fire. The scent of charred silk clung to her, the remains of her robes. Across the room Wei Yang knelt in chains, his head bowed. A fresh wound marred his side where Lan's blade had struck. You're alive, Li Mei croaked. He didn't look up. A mistake they'll soon rectify. The door slammed open. Elder Zhu entered, flanked by armored guards. Her gaze swept over them like an executioner's blade. Li Mei. You stand accused of stealing forbidden knowledge and attacking sect disciples. He turned to Wei Yang. And you, betraying your oath to protect our laws. Li Mei strained against her cuffs. I didn't attack them. They came for me. Silence. Elder Zhu's chi slammed into her, crushing the air from her lungs. Your body bears the mark of the Phoenix rebirth. That alone is a death sentence. Wei Yang finally lifted his head. Then punish me. I led her astray. No. Li Mei thrashed. He tried to stop me. Elder Zhu ignored her. At noon you both face the soul-searing pillar. May the heavens judge your sins. As the door closed, Li Mei whispered, What's the soul-searing pillar? Wei Yang's smile was grim. Imagine the trial of flames. Now imagine it lasts hours. Escape. Li Mei tested her cuffs again. There has to be a way out. There isn't. Bullshit. She glared at him. You've survived centuries with a demon sword eating your soul. You don't just give up. Wei Yang's chains rattled as he shifted. I gave up the day I watched you die the first time. The raw pain in his voice stilled her. Then, a scrape at the window. A small figure dropped into the cell. A boy no older than 12 with wide, fearful eyes. Shoo! He pressed a finger to his lips. Lady Lan sent me. Li Mei recoiled. Lan? This is another trick. She said to give you this. The boy tossed a jade hairpin at Wei Yang's feet. Wei Yang stiffened. This is hers. From before. The boy nodded. She said you'd understand. With a snap, Wei Yang broke his chains, the hairpin's edge glowing with hidden chi. He freed Li Mei, his voice low. Lan's playing a deeper game. But for now we run. The bloodied path. They fled through the Backbone Pass where jagged cliffs hid secret trails. Behind them horns blared. The sect's hunters were mobilizing. Li Mei's legs burned. Where are we going? Somewhere even the Vermilion Phoenix won't follow. Wei Yang gripped her wrist, pulling her up a sheer rock face. The grave of 10,000 swords. The haunted battlefield? Legend spoke of a place where angry spirits tore intruders apart. Wei Yang's jaw tightened. The only place your phoenix fire won't be sensed. As if summoned, heat licked up Li Mei's veins. She gasped, stumbling. Wei Yang caught her. The sutrous flames are consuming you faster than I thought. She clutched his arm. Then we finish the ritual. Now. No. His grip turned bruising. Not until we're safe. A howl cut through the night, not human, not beast. Soul-hunting hounds. Wei Yang swore. They've sent the Inquisition. Li Mei's blood chilled. The Inquisition were sect elites who tracked prey across continents. Run, Wei Yang ordered. Don't look back. But it was too late. Arrows rained from the sky. The edge of death. Wei Yang shoved Li Mei behind a boulder as 3 arrows buried themselves in his back. Wei Yang. He snapped the shafts off, his face pale with pain. Keep moving. They staggered into a narrow gorge, a dead end. The hound's baying grew closer. Li Mei turned, her hands igniting with blue fire. I'll hold them off. Like how you will. Wei Yang yanked her close. Listen carefully. The final trial of the sutra requires a bond. My curse. Your fire. They're 2 halves of the same coin. Her breath hitched. You mean? I'm the anchor. But if we do this, there's no going back. Boots scraped stone behind them. The hunters had arrived. Li Mei didn't hesitate. She pressed her palm to Wei Yang's chest over his heart. Do it. His eyes burned. You stubborn, impossible woman. Then he slammed his forehead against hers and the world exploded. The bonding. Fire and darkness collided. Li Mei screamed as Wei Yang's curse surged into her, the demon sword's hunger twining with her phoenix flames. Visions tore through her mind. Wei Yang younger, laughing as he trained with Lan under cherry blossoms. The day the demon sword chose him, its whispers driving him mad. Her past self kissing him goodbye before stepping into the flames. Stay with me. Wei Yang's voice cut through the chaos. His hands gripped hers, blood dripping where their skin touched. The bond won't hold unless we both choose it. Li Mei clung to him. I choose you. Light erupted. When it faded, the hunters were gone, blasted back by the shockwave. Wei Yang panted, his blackened veins receding slightly. Li Mei's fire no longer burned her. It flowed between them, balanced. But the respite was short-lived. From the cliffs above, a slow clap echoed. Lady Lan stood there, her sword unsheathed. How touching. But did you really think I'd let you leave alive? Chapter 7. Lan's Truth. The Blade at Dawn. Lady Lan's sword gleamed in the pale morning light as she descended the cliff face, her movements effortless, her silver robes untouched by the wind. Li Mei tensed, her newly stabilized flames flickering at her fingertips. Beside her, Wei Yang stood unnaturally still, his hand resting on the hilt of his demon sword. Lan, he said, voice low. You orchestrated this. Why? Lan's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Because you needed to remember what you're fighting for. She raised her blade, not at them but at the ground between them. The earth split open, revealing a hidden passage leading into the depths of the grave of 10,000 swords. Follow me, she said, turning her back as if daring them to strike. Or die here like the fools you are. Li Mei exchanged a glance with Wei Yang. His jaw tightened, but he gave a single sharp nod. They followed. The tomb of the first phoenix. The passage led to a cavernous chamber, its walls lined with ancient swords, each one rusted and broken. At its center stood a stone sarcophagus, carved with the image of a phoenix mid-flight. Lan pressed her palm to the lid and blue fire ignited along the carvings. You're not the first to attempt the phoenix rebirth, she said, her voice echoing. Nor the first to fail. The sarcophagus slid open, revealing a skeleton wreathed in flame. Li Mei's breath caught. Who was she? The original, Wei Yang said softly, stepping forward. The first disciple of the Vermilion Phoenix sect. The one who created the sutra. Lan's gaze locked onto his. And your first love. Li Mei stiffened. Wei Yang didn't deny it. Lan laughed bitterly. You never told her, did you? That every time you look at her you see another woman's face. Li Mei's flames flared. Wei Yang. It's not like that, he growled. Then explain, Lan challenged. Silence. She was my master, Wei Yang admitted. And I failed her. The broken oath. Centuries ago, Wei Yang had been a reckless disciple hungry for power. The first phoenix, Lian Hua, had taken him under her wing. She was the one who forged the sutra, Lan said, her voice hollow. She believed love could transcend death. that two souls could be reborn, bound together. Wei Yang's hands clenched. She tested it on herself. And when the flames consumed her, I was too weak to pull her back. Li Mei's chest ached. That's why you tried to stop me. He nodded. History repeats itself. I find you. You burn for me. I lose you. Lan's expression twisted. And yet here you are letting her do it again. Li Mei stepped between them. That's not your choice to make. Lan's sword flashed, but not at Li Mei. She slashed her own palm, letting blood drip onto the sarcophagus. Then prove it, she hissed. Complete the ritual. Let me see if your love is stronger than hers was. The chamber shook and the skeleton's flames roared to life. The final trial had begun. The last trial. The fire surged toward Li Mei, but this time it didn't burn. It whispered. To be reborn you must first die. Li Mei turned to Wei Yang. What does that mean? His face was ashen. Your mortal body can't contain the phoenix's power. You have to shed it. You mean I have to? Yes. Li Mei's hands trembled. She had known the sutra required sacrifice, but true death? Lan's voice cut through her panic. Unless you have an anchor. Wei Yang's head snapped up. What? Lan smirked. The original sutra was flawed. Lian Hua died because she had no one to tether her soul. But you, she gestured to Wei Yang. You're already bound to her. Your curse her fire. Pull her back. Li Mei's pulse pounded. Can it work? Wei Yang's gaze locked onto hers. I don't know. But I'm not letting you go. She exhaled. Then let's finish this. Hand in hand they stepped into the flames. The rebirth. Agony. Li Mei's body dissolved, her flesh turning to ash, her soul unraveling. She screamed, but no sound came out. Somewhere distantly Wei Yang's voice called to her. Li Mei. Hold on. She reached for him and the demon sword answered. Its darkness twined with her fire, stitching her back together. She gasped. Light flooded her vision. Her body reformed, her skin glowing with golden blue embers, her hair streaked with flame. Wei Yang collapsed to his knees, his veins no longer blackened, his sword now silent. It's gone, he rasped. The curse, it's gone. Li Mei touched his face. Because I took it into myself. Across the chamber Lan smiled, then turned to leave. Wait. Li Mei called. Why help us? Lan paused. Because I loved him once too. And unlike Lian Hua, you deserve to live. Then she was gone. Chapter 8. The Aftermath. Third turn. The gates of the Vermilion Phoenix sect loomed before them, their crimson wood scorched from the battle days before. Li Mei hesitated, her fingers brushing the new markings on her skin, swirling patterns of gold and blue that pulsed faintly with immortal qi. Beside her Wei Yang stood rigid, his demon sword now silent in its sheath, its curse transferred to her. They'll kill us on sight, he muttered. Not if we give them no choice. Li Mei lifted her chin and stepped forward. The guards at the gate stiffened, their swords flashing free. Halt. Traitors or not. Li Mei released a fraction of her power. Flames erupted around her, not in rage, but in a controlled inferno that painted the sky gold. The guards stumbled back, their faces pale. Tell Elder Zhu, she said, her voice echoing with the weight of her ascension, that the phoenix has returned. The council's verdict. The great hall was silent as Li Mei and Wei Yang stood before the assembled elders. Elder Zhu sat at the center, her expression unreadable. You dare return after defying our laws? She demanded. We dare, Li Mei said, meeting her gaze without flinching. The sutra is complete. The curse is broken. What more do you want? A murmur rippled through the elders. Then, a voice from the shadows. I want to know why you spared them, Lan. Lady Lan stepped forward, her silver robes pristine, her eyes cold. Because the cycle is broken. That's what we all wanted, isn't it? Elder Zhu's fingers tightened around her staff. You betrayed us. No, Lon said softly. I saved us. She turned to Li Mei. Show them. Li Mei exhaled and let her power surge. The hall shook as wings of fire unfurled from her back. The true mark of a phoenix ascendant. Gasps filled the room. Elder Zhu's breath caught. Impossible. The sutra was never forbidden because it was dangerous, Lon said. It was forbidden because it worked. Because it proved that love could conquer even death. Wei Yang stepped forward. Our crimes are ours alone. Punish us if you must. But know this. We are done hiding. The silence stretched. The Elder Zhu lowered her staff. Leave. No. And do not return. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was enough. The weight of immortality. That night they camped at the foot of the mountain, the stars blazing overhead. Li Mei stared into the fire, her thoughts churning. She was immortal now. The realization settled like a stone in her chest. Does it ever get easier? She asked quietly. Wei Yang glanced at her. What? Living forever. He was silent for a long moment. No. But it gets different. He turned to him. Do you regret it? Any of it? His gaze burned into hers. Only the years I spent without you. The air between them crackled. Then a twig snapped. They were on their feet in an instant, weapons drawn. From the trees emerged a figure in black, his face hidden beneath a hood. Well, the stranger said, his voice like gravel, this is awkward. He lowered his hood. Wei Yang's sword clattered to the ground. Father. The ghost of the past. The man, General Wei Feng, looked nothing like the legendary warrior of Wei Yang's stories. His hair was streaked with white, his face lined with scars. But his eyes were the same. You've grown, he said, his voice rough. Though your temper hasn't. Wei Yang staggered back. You died. I watched you die. No, his father said. You watched me leave. There's a difference. Li Mei stepped between them. What do you want? Wei Feng's gaze flicked to her. The new phoenix. I've heard stories. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Pity they're all wrong. Explain, Wei Yang snarled. His father sighed. The demon sword was never yours to bear, boy. It was mine. And now that it's gone. He flexed his fingers. Well, let's just say something's coming. And you're not ready. Li Mei's flames flickered. What are you talking about? Wei Feng turned away. Meet me at the ruin of Heaven's Gate in 3 days. Or don't. Either way. He glanced back, his expression grim. The real war is about to begin. Then he vanished into the night. The choice ahead. The fire burned low. Wei Yang hadn't moved since his father left, his hands clenched into fists. Li Mei touched his arm. We don't have to go. Yes, he said quietly. We do. She studied his face, the pain, the resolve. Why? He met her gaze. Because if he's right, none of this matters. The words hung between them, heavy as a storm. Li Mei exhaled. Then we go. Wei Yang's fingers brushed hers. Together. She interlaced their hands, her flames wrapping gently around his skin. Always. Chapter 9. The Ruin of Heaven's Gate. The Forgotten Battlefield. The ruin of Heaven's Gate was not a place. It was a wound in the world. Li Mei and Wei Yang stood at the edge of a shattered plateau, where the earth dropped away into an abyss so deep no one had ever seen its bottom. The air hummed with residual qi, the remnants of a battle so ancient even the sects no longer spoke of it. Why here? Li Mei whispered. Wei Yang's grip tightened on his sword. This is where the first phoenix fell. A gust of wind carried the scent of burnt metal and old blood. The Wei Feng emerged from the mist. Took you long enough, he said, his voice rough. Wei Yang's blade was at his father's throat in an instant. Explain. Now. His father didn't flinch. The demon sword was never just a weapon. It was a lock. And you broke it. The truth of the curse. In the shadow of the ruins, Wei Feng spoke of a war older than the sex. The phoenix and the dragon were not just cultivators, he said. They were guardians meant to keep the 9 hells sealed. Li Mei's markings flared. The demon sword was part of that? A key, Wei Feng corrected. One half of a bond. The sword was the dragon's burden. The flames were the phoenix's. His gaze flicked to Wei Yang. But when Lian Hua died, the balance broke. The sword's hunger grew. And now that you've purged it. Wei Yang went still. We've unlocked the seal. A rumble shook the earth. From the abyss something stirred. The first hell rises. The ground split open and black water surged forth, carrying the stench of rotting flesh. Shapes moved beneath the surface. Skeletal hands writhing shadows. The river of the dead, Wei Feng spat. The first seal is broken. Li Mei's flames ignited. How do we stop it? You don't. Wei Feng drew a blade of his own, a twin to Wei Yang's but cracked with age. You fight. The water exploded. Hundreds of corpses clawed their way onto land, their hollow eyes fixed on Li Mei. They hunger for the phoenix's light, Wei Feng said. They always have. Wei Yang stepped forward, his sword blazing. Then let them burn. The battle at the abyss. Li Mei unleashed her fire, sending waves of blue and gold flame crashing into the undead horde. They screamed as they burned, but more kept coming. Wei Yang fought at her side, his movements a deadly dance, his father mirroring him strike for strike. The sword's curse is gone, Wei Yang shouted over the chaos. Why is this happening? Because the balance is broken. Wei Feng drove his blade through a corpse's skull. The sword was never the problem, it was the anchor. Without it, the 9 hells will rise. Li Mei's mind raced. Then we remake the seal. Wei Feng's eyes widened. You can't. But she was already moving. She grabbed Wei Yang's hand and plunged their joined blades into the earth. Bind us, she commanded the flames. The world tore apart. The price of a soul. Agony. Li Mei felt her soul fracture as the fire and darkness collided, weaving a new seal. Wei Yang roared beside her, his body breaking and reforming under the strain. Somewhere Wei Feng was shouting. You'll die. The bond isn't strong enough. Li Mei gritted her teeth. Then we make it stronger. She turned to Wei Yang and kissed him. Not a gentle kiss. A claim. A vow. Power erupted. The ground sealed shut, the corpses crumbling to dust. Silence fell. Then Wei Feng exhaled. Well, that's one problem solved. Li Mei sagged against Wei Yang, her vision swimming. How many more to go? His father's smile was grim. 8. Chapter 10. The Final Dawn. The calm before the storm. The world held its breath. For 3 days after sealing the first hell, Li Mei and Wei Yang recovered in a forgotten temple at the edge of the ruins. Wei Feng kept watch, his gaze forever locked on the horizon. The other hells won't stay buried forever, he warned. The seal is temporary. Li Mei flexed her fingers, watching the golden blue embers dance across her skin. Then we fight them all. Wei Yang said nothing. He had been silent since the battle, his dark eyes shadowed. That night, as Li Mei practiced her forms under the moonlight, he finally spoke. There's another way. She turned. What? He met her gaze, his voice raw. We don't have to wait for them to come to us. We can end this now. The descent. The path to the 9 hells was not meant for mortals. Or even immortals. Wei Feng led them to a cracked altar deep beneath the ruins, its surface carved with forbidden runes. This is the gate, he said. Step through and you won't return the same. Li Mei studied the runes. What do they say? Sacrifice the sun to kill the dark. Wei Yang exhaled sharply. Li Mei didn't hesitate. Then let's go. Wei Feng gripped her arm. You don't understand. The hells change you. They'll twist your fire into something unrecognizable. She pulled free. I'm not afraid. Pause. The Wei Feng laughed, low and tired. No. You never were. He stepped aside. Li Mei took Wei Yang's hand. Together they jumped. The 9 hells. Hell was not fire. Hell was memory. The first layer drowned them in regret. Visions of every mistake, every loss. Wei Yang gasped as he relived Lian Hua's death, her body turning to ash in his arms. Li Mei burned it away. The second layer flayed them with doubt. Whispers that their love was just an echo of the past, that Wei Yang would never see her, only the phoenix who came before. Wei Yang shattered it with a roar. On and on they fought through realms of hunger, fury, despair, each one worse than the last. By the 8th hell, Li Mei's flames were dimming, her soul fraying. Wei Yang's sword had cracked, his strength failing. Then the 9th hell. And there waiting for them was the source of it all. The heart of the abyss. It had no name. It was the absence of light, the void between stars. It spoke without words, its voice slithering into their minds. You are tired, it murmured. Let go. Li Mei's knees buckled. Wei Yang caught her, his grip desperate. No. We finish this. The void laughed. With what? You are nothing. Li Mei lifted her head. And smiled. We, she said, are phoenix and dragon. She plunged her hand into Wei Yang's chest. He did the same to her. And together they tore out each other's hearts. The rebirth. The void screamed. Fire and darkness collided, exploding outward in a shockwave that sealed the hells forever. When the light faded, Li Mei stood alone in an endless white plain. No Wei Yang. No pain. Just peace. Then a voice. Did you really think it would be that easy? She turned. Wei Yang stood there whole and unharmed, his eyes blazing. You're not getting rid of me, he said. She laughed and the world reformed around them. Epilogue. A new dawn. The world did not celebrate their victory. How could it? No one had known the war was being fought. But the sects felt it. The shift in the chi of the earth. The sudden stillness where before there had been something lurking. Li Mei and Wei Yang wandered the Jianghu, their names whispered in awe and fear. The phoenix and the dragon. The ones who walked through hell and returned. One evening as the sun set over a quiet village, Wei Yang turned to her. What now? Li Mei took his hand, her flames warm and steady. Whatever we want. And for the first time in centuries, they were free. Epilogue. 1,000 years later. The wandering tea house. The mortals called it the drunken phoenix. A ramshackle tea house that appeared only at twilight, its lanterns glowing with blue fire. Travelers whispered that if you drank its wine, you'd dream of the past. None knew it was real. And none recognized the proprietors. A woman with flame-kissed hair and a man who moved like a shadow given form. Tonight the tea house stood atop a cliff overlooking the sea. A storm brewed on the horizon, but inside the air was warm, scented with osmanthus and memory. A young disciple, barely 16, stumbled in, drenched from the rain. I seek the phoenix, he gasped. Li Mei glanced up from polishing cups. Do you now? The boy froze, staring at her gold-veined hands. Wei Yang leaned against the counter, amused. Took you long enough to find us, kid. Took me 3 centuries to track her down the first time. Li Mei threw a rag at him. You weren't tracking. You were sulking. The disciple gaped. Why, you're really... But the legends say you died sealing the 9 hells. Wei Yang snorted. We got better. Li Mei slid a cup of wine across the counter. Sit. Tell us why you're here. The boy hesitated, then blurted, the black water is rising again. A beat of silence. Wei Yang's fingers tightened around his cup. Li Mei sighed. We'll need more wine. Outside the storm crackled and the lantern flames burned brighter. Somewhere deep beneath the earth something laughed.